Hello, everyone. Today we're going to cover Chapter 6, Managing Quality, Part A. In this chapter, we're going to ask the following questions. Why is assurance of quality so important? How can we define quality? What's the cost of poor quality? What tools and techniques can we use to assure quality? The first question is, why is assurance of quality so important? To answer this, let's think about the two systems, the push system and the pull system. What's the difference between the two? In a push system, we produce products before orders arrive. So we have inventory before orders arrive. But in a pull system, we wait until orders arrive and we start producing products after orders arrive. So let's think about the advantages of these systems. What are the benefits of a push system? Since we already have inventory, customers don't have to wait a long time. But we need to hold inventory. That means we need to, there will be an inventory holding cost. On the other hand, what are the benefits of a pull system? We don't need to carry any inventory, so we can save money on the inventory holding cost. So which system do you think is more popular these days? A push system or a pull system? The answer is the pull system because companies are realizing that they need to keep minimal level of inventory to save costs and to run their supply chains efficiently. And the pull system is also called just-in-time and lean production. And because of this, assurance of quality is more important. Why? Let's say you're using just-in-time. So when orders arrive, you start producing your products. And when you are low in your materials, you need to contact your suppliers to place an order. And when you receive materials from your suppliers, you conduct quality check. What happens if they don't pass the quality check? You need to return them. You need to place another order. So, and this is going to be a disaster because your customer is waiting. If you had inventory that you could ship out immediately, then returning materials to your supplier is not going to be a big problem. But if you're using just in time and you have no inventory and your customer is waiting for you to finish the production, returning materials might be a big problem. So it's important to receive quality materials from your supplier. When there's no safety stock available and required items arrive just before use, their quality must be fully acceptable. Next, how can we define quality? Quality is a term used by customers to describe their general satisfaction with a service or a product. What dimensions do you think of when you think of quality? Let's say you want to buy a new car, and how can you describe the quality of your car? Please pause this video, take a few minutes, and come back with your answer. First of all, there are some basic stuff that you expect from your car. For example, I want to have a car that runs 25 miles per gallon. Or I want to have a car that has some space in the trunk. In other words, I want my car to conform to certain specifications. Conformance to specifications. And products need to provide the right function. Next, consistency. That means every time you purchase something, you want to get the same quality. Let's say I had a cheeseburger at McDonald's today, and tomorrow I want to have another cheeseburger, at McDonald's and I want to get the same quality, the same taste, and the same service. Next, timeliness. You don't want to wait too long. And reliability means how long will a product operate until it needs to be repaired. Durability means how long will a product last before replacement. So what's the difference between reliability and durability? Reliability means how long do I need to wait until my car needs to be repaired, such as tire replacement or battery replacement. And durability means how long do I need to wait until I need to get another car. Next, serviceability. Is it easy to get my car fixed? Or can I repair my car at an affordable price? Next, aesthetics. How is the look, the smell, the feel, the sound? How beautiful is my car? Next, what's the cost of poor quality? Let's take an example. Suppose you are a car manufacturer who's trying to find a supplier for batteries. You have 4 potential suppliers, A, B, C, and D, and here's the cost per unit, and here's the percentage of defective items, and which one would you choose? Would you choose D because he offers the lowest price, or would you choose B because he offers the lowest percentage of defective items? Or would you choose someone in between? There are 2 different approaches. One is the traditional view, and the other is the current view. Traditionally, people thought we can bear with some level of defect if we can save money. But recently, people changed their minds, and now they think every single defect is expensive, and we need to try our best to reduce the level of defect as much as possible. According to the traditional view, you choose C because it's something in between. But according to the current view, you choose B because he offers the lowest percentage of defective items. We can illustrate this as follows. Prior to the 1950s, people thought to reduce the total cost, we need to live with some level of defects. In this graph, the x-axis is the percentage of defects, and the y-axis is the total cost. And what happens if the percentage of defects is increasing? People thought that the total cost is going to be very high if the percentage of defects is low. So at a certain point, the total cost is minimized. So we need to live with some level of defect to minimize the total cost. That's the traditional viewpoint. On the other hand, a new perspective is that every defect is expensive and prevention of defects lowers cost. And defects need to be minimized as much as possible. Deming is one of the pioneers in quality management, and he said we need to stress quality when making the product the first time. So in the current view, if the x-axis is the percentage of defects and the y-axis is the total cost, then as the percentage of defects increases, the total cost goes up. That means to minimize the total cost, we need to reduce the percentage of defect as much as possible. So do you agree with this view? Why do people think every single defect is expensive? Let's take an example. Let's say you are producing cars and you have thousands of parts and you're putting them together to produce a car. And after you finish producing your car, you conduct a quality review. And what happens if the car fails the quality check because it has a defective part? You need to throw it out. So it's very expensive. It's very important to use quality part the first time you produce your product. Let's take another example. Let's say you sold your car to a customer, and the customer finds out that this car has a defective part. Will he buy something from you in the future? No, you lost a customer. So this affected the buyers and seller relationship. Traditionally, when selecting suppliers, competition was the main tool. Since we can tolerate some defects, there are many suppliers who can satisfy our specifications. And we can switch from one supplier to another whenever a better price is possible. Now, what happened to Ford in 2008? Ford used this policy up until 2008, and they had a financial crisis in 2008. And they overcame this crisis by changing the relationship with their suppliers. They selected a smaller number of suppliers who can provide quality materials, and they established a long-term relationship with them. So currently, people are looking for high-quality suppliers, and it's difficult to find a high-quality supplier who's willing to improve quality continuously. And the current view is the single sourcing is better, and suppliers are considered as partners, not as subsidiaries. Let's talk about the types of costs that are related to quality management. There are 4 types of costs: prevention costs, appraisal costs, internal failure costs, and external failure costs. Prevention costs are the costs associated with preventing defects before they happen. For example, let's say you're running a restaurant. You hired new waiters. Before they start working, you train them. You are spending some time to train them. Why do you do this? Because by training them, you can prevent any mistakes they can make in the future. Now, the next type of cost is the appraisal cost. Appraisal costs are also called inspection costs. They are incurred when the firm inspects products, parts, and services. Let's take an example. Let's say you are producing men's shirts. You order your fabric with your supplier. Once you receive fabric, you can cut them in different shapes, and you sew them in shirts, and you put some buttons on them, and then you ship them out. So when do you inspect things? You inspect things in every step, after every step of your process. When you receive fabrics from your supplier, you inspect them. Once you cut them in different shapes, you inspect them. After you sew them into shirts, you inspect them. After you put some buttons on them, you inspect them. And before you ship out your final product, you inspect them. So the time you spend to inspect things is an appraisal cost. The next type of cost is the internal failure costs. Internal failure costs are the costs resulting from defects that are discovered during the production of a service or a product. There are 2 types of defects. One is called the rework, and the other is called the scrap. A rework is something that can be fixed by doing the work again. On the other hand, a scrap is something that cannot be fixed and that needs to be thrown away. Let's say you are producing men's shirts. You are inspecting the final product and you found a shirt that's missing one of the buttons. Is this a rework or a scrap? You can fix the shirt by putting a button on it. So it's a rework. Let's say you found a shirt with a huge cut on the side. Is this a rework or a scrap? You can't fix it, so this is a scrap. The next type of cost is the external failure costs. External failure costs are the costs that arise when a defect is discovered after the customer receives the service or a product. So let's say, take an example. Suppose you bought a bicycle from Walmart and you took it home and you found out that one of the pedals is not working. What do? You return it and get a new one. Now you are not satisfied with your experience with Walmart, so you write a bad review on the internet. So customer dissatisfaction is an external failure cost, and warranty is another external failure cost. So this is everything we have for this part, and I'll see you next time.